First up, the 2008 United States 1-cent coin, widely known as the Lincoln penny, stands as a significant piece of American numismatic history. While it might seem like an ordinary coin to most, it represents the culmination of decades of tradition and serves as a bridge to a new chapter in U.S. coinage. To truly understand the 2008 penny's importance, we must explore its origins, design, production, and the cultural and historical narratives it carries. The story of the Lincoln cent begins in 1909, a year chosen to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Prior to Lincoln's profile gracing the penny, U.S. 1-cent coins featured designs such as the Indian head and the flying eagle. The Lincoln cent marked a revolutionary change, as it was the first American coin to feature a real historical figure. This was a departure from the tradition of allegorical or symbolic designs that dominated earlier coinage. Victor David Brenner, a sculptor and medalist, was tasked with designing the new penny. His design was inspired by a Matthew Brady photograph of Lincoln and featured the president's right-facing profile. Brenner's initials, VDB, were initially included prominently on the coin's reverse, but were later removed due to public criticism. The obverse design of Lincoln's profile has remained largely unchanged since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in history. The reverse design of the original Lincoln cent featured two wheat ears flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America, accompanied by the motto E pluribus unum. Known as the wheat penny, this design symbolized agricultural prosperity. It remained in use until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, introduced in 1959, was the work of Frank Gasparro, who later became the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. This design featured a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with extraordinary detail. Notably, a tiny engraving of Lincoln's seated figure is visible between the central columns of the memorial. This micro-engraving made the design unique and set it apart from other coins. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse remained in production for nearly 50 years, making it one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. The 2008 penny represents the final year of this iconic design, as the Mint transitioned to the Lincoln Bicentennial Series in 2009. These 2009 designs celebrated Lincoln's life with 4 distinct reverses, highlighting key stages: his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. The composition of the penny has undergone several changes over the years. From 1909 to 1982, pennies were primarily composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. However, rising copper prices led the Mint to adopt a new composition in 1,9,8,2,9,75% zinc, with a thin copper plating. This composition remains in use today and was employed for the 2008 penny. While the change reduced production costs, it also altered the coin's weight and feel, distinguishing newer pennies from their older counterparts. The 2008 penny was produced in vast quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with billions struck for circulation. This high production volume makes it a common coin with limited value beyond its face amount in circulated condition. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with exceptional luster and sharp strikes, are sought after by collectors and can fetch between 10 cents and $1. Additionally, proof versions of the 2008 penny were minted in San Francisco for collectors. These proof coins, featuring mirror-like finishes and intricate details, are valued higher and can range from a few dollars to more, depending on their condition. Though the 2008 penny is not particularly rare or valuable, its historical significance lies in its role as the last year of the Lincoln Memorial design. For many Americans, this design is deeply nostalgic, as it was the penny they used in everyday transactions for decades. It also serves as a reminder of Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy and the ideals he stood for: unity, perseverance, and equality. The decision to retire the Lincoln Memorial design in 2008 was part of a broader initiative to honor Lincoln's bicentennial in 2009. The new designs provided a fresh perspective on Lincoln's life and achievements while maintaining his iconic profile on the obverse. This transition marked a new era in the penny's storied history. For collectors, the 2008 penny is a meaningful addition to any collection, representing a transitional moment in U.S. coinage. Many collectors pair 2008 pennies with the 2009 bicentennial designs to create a narrative that captures the evolution of Lincoln's representation on U.S. coins. High-grade uncirculated and proof specimens are particularly prized for their aesthetic quality and historical significance. errors, and varieties are an area of interest for penny enthusiasts. While no major errors are widely associated with the 2008 penny, minor die variations or striking anomalies occasionally surface. These error coins can carry premiums among specialized collectors who appreciate their rarity and uniqueness. Next up, the 1981 United States 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as the Lincoln penny, holds a unique place in the history of American coinage. This coin, while often overlooked due to its commonality, represents an important era in the evolution of U.S. currency. To fully appreciate its significance, we must delve into its historical context, design details, production characteristics, and its value in the world of numismatics. The Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909, was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. This marked a significant departure from previous U.S. coinage, which primarily featured allegorical figures or symbols rather than real historical individuals. The introduction of Lincoln's profile on the penny was a bold move, reflecting the admiration for his leadership during the Civil War and his role in shaping the nation. The obverse design of the Lincoln penny, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, features a right-facing profile of Lincoln based on a Matthew Brady photograph. This design has remained virtually unchanged since its introduction, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The reverse design of the penny from 1959 to 1981 depicted the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to the president's enduring legacy. This reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, includes intricate details, such as a tiny engraving of Lincoln's seated figure, visible between the columns of the memorial, and primitive rectangles, landscaped to trap the sea. The composition of the 1981 penny is a key point of interest for collectors and historians alike. For most of the series' history, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition gave the coins a distinctive weight and appearance. However, rising copper prices in the late 20th century forced the U.S. Mint to consider alternative materials. 1981 marked the final full year of the traditional copper composition before the transition to a predominantly zinc core with a thin copper plating in 1982. As a result, the 1981 penny is often seen as the end of an era in American coinage. The 1981 penny was produced in vast quantities at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Circulation coins struck at Philadelphia and Denver bear no mint mark or AD mint mark, respectively, while proof coins struck at the San Francisco mint feature an S mint mark. The high mintage numbers mean that circulated 1981 pennies are still commonly found today and typically hold no additional value beyond their face amount. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with exceptional luster and sharp details, are of interest to collectors and can command modest premiums. Proof versions of the 1981 penny, produced exclusively at the San Francisco Mint, were struck with special care for collectors. These coins feature mirror-like finishes and sharp, detailed designs. Depending on their condition and whether they remain in their original packaging, 1981 proof pennies can be worth several dollars each. These proofs represent the pinnacle of coin production quality, showcasing the artistry and precision of the U.S. Mint. Errors and varieties associated with the 1981 penny are another point of interest for collectors. While no major errors are widely known for this year, minor anomalies, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks, can occasionally be found. Such errors add an element of intrigue and rarity to otherwise common coins, and can significantly increase their value to specialized collectors. The historical and cultural significance of the 1981 penny extends beyond its design and composition. As one of the last pennies to feature the traditional copper alloy, it serves as a tangible reminder of a time when copper coins played a vital role in everyday commerce. The transition to a zinc composition in 1982 reflected broader economic challenges, marking a turning point in the history of U.S. coinage. Next up, the 1964 D United States 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as the Lincoln penny, represents a significant chapter in the history of American coinage. Minted during a time of cultural and economic change, this coin offers collectors and enthusiasts a glimpse into the past. Its design, production, and historical context make it a fascinating piece to explore. The Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909, was designed to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner, a renowned sculptor, was selected to create the obverse design, which features a right-facing profile of Lincoln based on a Matthew Brady photograph. This marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a regular issue U.S. coin, breaking away from the traditional allegorical representations used in earlier coin designs. By 1964, the reverse design featured the Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. Designed by Frank Gasparo, this reverse replaced the original wheat ears design and included intricate details of the memorial. Notably, a tiny engraving of Lincoln's seated figure is visible between the central columns of the memorial, a feature that adds to the design's uniqueness and appeal. End quote. The 1964 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D mint mark located below the date on the obverse. This year is notable for its exceptionally high mintage numbers, with over 3.8 billion pennies produced at the Denver Mint alone. The high production volume was part of the U.S. Mint's efforts to meet increasing demand for coins during a time of economic growth and rising consumer activity. As a result, the 1964 D penny remains one of the most common coins from the era, frequently found in circulation even today. The composition of the 1964 D penny follows the traditional alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which had been standard for U.S. 1-cent coins since 1864. This copper-rich composition gives the coin a distinct reddish-brown hue, especially in uncirculated condition. Over time, exposure to environmental factors can cause the coin's surface to darken or develop a patina, adding character but potentially diminishing its value to collectors. For numismatists, the 1964 D penny holds interest as a representative example of mid-20th century coinage. While most circulated examples are worth only their face value, uncirculated specimens with full luster and minimal blemishes can command modest premiums. These coins are often sought after for inclusion in Lincoln cent collections, particularly those focused on assembling high-grade examples from each year and mint. Proof coins, which are struck with special care to produce mirror-like finishes and sharp details, were not issued for circulation in 1964. However, collectors may encounter well-preserved 1964 D pennies with exceptional strike quality, which are often mistaken for proof-like coins. Such examples can be valuable, especially if they exhibit strong details and an attractive appearance. Next up, the 2003 United States 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is a significant piece of modern American coinage. While it may seem like a simple and ordinary coin at first glance, the 2003 penny has both historical and numismatic importance. Its design, production, and role in everyday commerce reflect the enduring legacy of the Lincoln cent series, which has been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage for over a century. The Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909, was created to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse of the coin, designed by Victor David Brenner, features a right-facing profile of Lincoln. This design was groundbreaking as it marked the first time a U.S. coin featured a real historical figure. Brenner's depiction of Lincoln, based on a Matthew Brady photograph, has remained largely unchanged, symbolizing continuity and respect for one of America's most revered leaders. The reverse design of the 2003 penny, like others minted between 1959 and 2008, features the Lincoln Memorial. This reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The intricate details of the memorial, including a tiny depiction of Lincoln's seated figure visible between the central columns, make the coin a remarkable example of numismatic artistry. This design replaced the original wheat ears reverse that was used from 1909 to 1958. The 2003 penny was struck in large quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, as indicated by the lack of a mint mark for Philadelphia coins and a D mint mark for Denver coins. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies in 2003 to meet the high demand for 1-cent coins in circulation. As a result, 2003 pennies are common and frequently encountered in everyday transactions. The composition of the 2003 penny reflects a change implemented in 1982 due to rising copper prices. Prior to this, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. However, from 1982 onward, the penny's core was changed to 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. This composition gives modern pennies, including those minted in 2003, a slightly lighter weight compared to their pre-1982 counterparts. Despite this change, the coin retains its iconic appearance, with the copper plating providing the familiar reddish hue. For collectors, the 2003 penny is a relatively recent issue and is readily available in circulation. Most circulated examples are worth only their face value of 1 cent. However, uncirculated examples, particularly those with exceptional luster and no signs of wear, can command modest premiums. These coins are often sought by collectors looking to complete year sets of Lincoln cents in high-grade condition. Proof coins were also struck in 2003 at the San Francisco Mint for inclusion in special collector sets. These proof pennies are easily recognizable by their mirror-like fields and sharply detailed designs. Bearing an S mint mark, proof 2003 pennies are highly prized by collectors and can range in value from a few dollars to significantly more, depending on their condition and whether they are still housed in their original packaging.
Dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the passing of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The coin was designed by John R. Sinnock, who was the chief engraver at the U.S. Mint. His design features a profile of President Roosevelt on the obverse, and on the reverse, we have a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, which symbolize unity, peace, and strength. The Roosevelt dime has become an iconic piece of American coinage, and it's been used in everyday transactions for over 75 years. The design has remained consistent through the years, making it a favorite among collectors. Now let's focus on the 2015 D version of the coin. The D mint mark indicates that this particular dime was minted at the Denver Mint. The 2015 D dime is part of the series of regular issue coins that the U.S. Mint produces every year for circulation, so it's a relatively common coin. However, it has caught the attention of collectors, particularly in extra fine XF condition. Let's talk about what that means for those unfamiliar with coin grading. In the world of coin collecting, extra fine condition, or XF, refers to a coin that has some wear, but the details are still sharp and clear. For the 2015 D Roosevelt dime, you'll notice that the details of Roosevelt's face, as well as the design on the reverse, are well defined. The coin will have minimal wear on the high points, like Roosevelt's cheek and hair, and the overall look will still resemble something close to a new coin, though you might see a slight bit of circulation wear. In extra fine condition, the coin shows light wear, but retains most of its original luster and detail. Now you're probably wondering, what's the value of this 2015 D Roosevelt dime in extra fine condition? Well, like most modern dimes, this coin is worth its face value of 10 cents in standard circulated condition. However, coins in extra fine condition often fetch a bit more. For the 2015 D, you can expect to see values ranging from 25 to 50 cents, depending on the specific coin and how the market is performing at the time. While it may not be worth a lot, it's important to remember that coin collecting is about more than just money. It's about the joy of collecting and preserving history. So why should you collect the 2015 D Roosevelt dime? Even though it's a modern coin, it's still a great addition to a Roosevelt dime collection. Collecting dimes like these can be a fun and affordable way to dive into numismatics. Plus, this particular coin offers a snapshot of U.S. coinage in the early 21st century. It's also an interesting coin for anyone who is a fan of Roosevelt's legacy and wants to own a piece of history that's tied to his memory. Next up, now, let's focus on the 2001 D version of the Roosevelt dime. The D mint mark tells us that this dime was produced at the Denver Mint, which is one of the primary facilities that mint U.S. coins. The 2001 D dime is part of a regular issue coin series, meaning it was minted in large quantities to be used in everyday transactions. It is one of the more common dimes in circulation, but it can still hold value for collectors, especially when in good condition. Speaking of condition, let's talk about extra fine, XF. Extra fine is a grading term that indicates a coin has been circulated but still retains a significant amount of its original details. For the 2001 D dime, this means that the features on Roosevelt's portrait and the reverse design are still clearly visible with little to no wear on the high points, like the cheek, nose, and hair on Roosevelt's portrait, as well as the branches and torch on the reverse. The coin might show minor wear, but the overall details should still be sharp and clean, with most of the luster intact. So what is the value of a 2001 D Roosevelt dime in extra fine condition? While this coin, in general, is worth its face value of 10 cents in typical circulated condition, in extra fine condition, it could be worth slightly more, anywhere from 25 to 50 cents, depending on the demand in the collector market. It's important to note that modern dimes, like the 2001 D, don't typically have high value unless they are in exceptional condition or have unique characteristics, but it's still great to have one in your collection. Why should you collect the 2001 D dime? Well, this coin is a great example of modern U.S. coinage and a wonderful addition to a Roosevelt dime collection. The 2001 D offers collectors a look at the coinage from the early 21st century, and for those who enjoy collecting coins by year or mint mark, the 2001 D is a must-have. It also holds historical value, as the Roosevelt dime continues to honor the legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Next up, now, let's focus on the 1986 P. Roosevelt dime. The P mint mark on the coin means it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The 1986 P dime is part of the regular issue of dimes produced for circulation that year, and it was widely used in everyday transactions during the 1980s. While it may not be considered rare, this coin still holds significance for collectors, especially when found in better conditions like extra fine. Let's talk about what it means for a coin to be in extra fine condition. A coin graded as extra fine has been used in circulation, but it retains a lot of its original details. For the 1986 P dime, the features on Roosevelt's portrait and the reverse design should still be clear and sharp, though there may be slight wear, especially on the high points like Roosevelt's cheek and the upper portions of the torch. The coin might show some light handling, but overall, it will look well preserved and show minimal signs of circulation. Extra fine coins are a step below uncirculated, but still a great condition to look for if you're collecting dimes. Now, what's the value of the 1986 P. Roosevelt dime in extra fine condition? In typical circulated condition, this dime is worth its face value of 10 cents, as it's a common coin. However, in extra fine condition, it can fetch a slightly higher price, usually around 25 to 50 cents, depending on the exact condition of the coin and the collector demand at the time. While it's not a high-value coin, it's still worth more than its face value when in good condition, and it's a nice find for any collector. So, why should you collect the 1986 P. Roosevelt dime? Well, it's a great addition to any Roosevelt dime collection, especially if you're collecting coins from specific years or mint marks. The 1986 P dime is part of the rich legacy of U.S. coinage, and even though it's not rare, it's still a piece of history. For collectors who are interested in dimes from the 1980s or who want to complete their set of Roosevelt dimes, the 1986 P is an important coin to have. Next time you're going through your change, keep an eye out for coins like the 1986 P Roosevelt dime. You might just find one in great condition, adding to your collection or even increasing its value. Coin collecting is not just about the monetary worth, but about the enjoyment of preserving a piece of history. Next up, now let's focus on the 1995 P Roosevelt dime. The P mint mark indicates that this coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The 1995 P dime is part of the regular series of dimes produced for circulation, and it was widely used throughout the 1990s. Though not a rare coin, it still holds value for collectors, especially when found in high-grade condition like extra fine. So what does extra fine, XF, mean for a coin's condition? Extra fine means that the coin has been circulated, but it retains much of its original detail. For the 1995 P Roosevelt dime, this means that Roosevelt's portrait will still be sharp with minimal wear. You might see some light wear on the high points, like the cheek or the hair, but the details are still mostly clear. The reverse design should also remain well-defined with only light wear on the branches or torch. An extra fine coin typically has a little less luster than an uncirculated coin, but is still in great shape. As for the value of the 1995 P Roosevelt dime in extra fine condition, it's worth more than face value, but not a huge amount. In typical circulated condition, this dime is worth its face value of 10 cents. However, in extra fine condition, you can expect to see values ranging from 25 to 50 cents, depending on the current market demand and the specific quality of the coin. While this isn't a high-value coin, it can still be an interesting addition to any collection. So why should you consider collecting the 1995 P Roosevelt dime? It's a great coin for anyone looking to complete their collection of Roosevelt dimes or for collectors who are focused on dimes from the 1990s. Even though the 1995p is not rare, it still offers a snapshot of U.S. coinage from that time period. It's also a wonderful example of how even modern coins can have lasting value in a collector's set. Next time you're checking your change, keep an eye out for coins like the 1995p Roosevelt dime. Even though it's a common coin, you never know when you might find one in excellent condition, adding a little extra value to your collection. That's all for today's video on the 1995p extra fine Roosevelt dime. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!